so we're going to call our EDA meeting to order. If the executive assistant will please call roll.
Wogaman. Pokrzywinski. Black.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Messelt. Grinde.
Here.
Riopelle.
Present. You guys want to make sure your microphones are on?
Mine's dead.
Hold it. Even Henry. Here, maybe you need my sticky note. It says push button until it clicks. Okay, we'll move into approval of minutes for the August 22nd regular meeting.
Boy, Henry. You can have mine. No, it's all right. I got this one.
We're in approval of minutes for our August 22nd regular meeting. If we have any questions on the minutes or if we can get approval.
Move.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Bills and communications, approval of accounts payable for September 5th, 2017. Are there any questions on the accounts payable?
No.
If not, you have a motion for approval.
We need a motion.
Yes, because it's on tonight's city council agenda.
Second.
Who moved?
Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Delinquency update.
None, but we will talk about the one situation we have in just a moment.
Okay. Unfinished business, beat all doctor note.
You would ask, basically what you did a month ago is you gave him until relief until early September, pending a note from his doctor as to when he was going to be returning to work. The note from his doctor says that he'll be returning to work on December 7th. So the recommendation is to resume payments on January 1.
Allowing interest to occur, correct?
Yes, with interest accruing.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Director's report.
Nothing to report today.
Okay. So we'll move into new business. Northland Custom Woodworking loan request.
Northland Custom Woodworking is requesting dollars for two items. First is to buy a piece of equipment, and the second is to pay off some existing small loans that they have. The loan committee met to review this request and recommended approval of it. It's in its entirety. The loan rate is 1% because it's a primary business.
I'll make the motion.
Got a question.
I got a question too.
Yep.
Go
Go ahead, Dan.
So if we're going to consolidate this into a single loan agreement, it'll be with all the new stuff of direct payment and
New stuff, old stuff, everything's going to be written up so that his
For the
existing
new-
loan will all be rolled into this as well. So it'll be one payment, and it will be by our requirements, it will have to be a direct payment.
okay.
Direct
And then we'll
control.
also have insurance too in case somebody
Yeah.
kicks the bucket.
Yeah, we've gone through that.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was okay.
There's collateral on it too, or?
Yes. So,
I'll second that.
Moved by Josh, second by Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Kevin, do you have anything that you'd like to add for us at all, or
Thank you.
questions or anything?
If anybody has any questions of me on what we're doing,
Guinea pig.
everybody would.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. And we've had a pretty good relationship with EDA over the years, and we continue to have that hopefully.
please take one.
That, so stop over anytime and go through the shop if you haven't had a chance to be over there. We've expanded lately, so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Keep up, buddy.
Okay, we'll move into new business, rural Minnesota report.
Same as it would normally be. Okay. I need to do one thing first. Does everybody have a set of the handouts? Does everybody have a set?
Yes.
The Minnesota Chamber has a program of visiting businesses throughout the state, and it asks local chambers to participate in that program. And Barry Wilford from the East Grand Forks Chamber and I have been doing the visitations locally for this program. And what we'd like to do at this point is report our findings. Barry, do you want to do any talking?
I will. I'm your color guy. You give the report and I'll just make any conclusion comments.
Okay.
That's okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the PowerPoint. And would you pass this along to where Mike's spot is, please? It's a program of the Minnesota Chamber. We perform 13 visits. We talk with CEOs and with the owners, and for example, we talked with Kevin Marcotte, okay? They were completed during the summer, and it was to identify community needs, legislative needs, and economic trends, and it was to identify firms where there would be follow-up. So there's a series of standardized questions that are asked. One, has management changed in the past year? Generally, no. Only one business had indicated there was a change in the management, and that was a planned succession. Is the business locally owned? Yes, 11 out of 13 businesses are locally owned. Is the facility in East Grand Forks owned or leased? 11 out of the 13 businesses own their facility. And is there room for expansion on the site? Yes for 9 and no for 4. So we need to think a little bit about whether or not there's space available or how we can create space available for firms if they need to expand as well. The conclusion is that we have a stable, locally controlled business environment, adequate expansion and business park industrial space for current need, but we need to be concerned about for the future. 8 of the companies have introduced new products or services in the past year. About half the companies plan to do the same during this next year. 11 of the 13 companies have seen sales increase or be stable, and 12 out of the 13 companies have seen their businesses stable, their profitability increase or be stable. And the conclusion is that local companies are diversifying and really doing well. There are 802 full-time employees in these 13 companies, 165 part-time employees, and 528 seasonal employees. 12 out of the 13 companies have seen this number increase or be stable in the past year. And all 13 expect the workforce to be stable or increase during the coming year. What we're seeing with this is something we're seeing generally. Workforce demand continues to grow. Then the question is, are you having difficulty recruiting workers? 10 of the 13 companies said yes, they're having trouble. And then why? It's lack of technical skills, lack of candidates, and a few reported that they find some employees have a poor work ethic. And the conclusion is that workforce development needs to be a priority for the future. We found that the markets are within 50 miles to international, and if you look at it, it's really split. It's about equal for local, or equal for Midwest, including Minnesota. 2 are national and 3 are international. And their fastest growing markets parallel what their primary markets are. You notice that 12 of 13 companies are either increasing or remaining stable in their market share. And 5 companies export, but 8 do not. And we concluded that companies in East Grand Forks are in a growth mode. Does your company have plans for new investments? 9 out of 13 said yes. New facilities, major equipment purchases, renovations or expansions at the current site were the things that were cited. They're going to do this at their current location. One is expanding to include another site in Minnesota, and one's expanding to include another site in another state. If I remember correctly, it was North Dakota. Okay? And that's further evidence that the companies in East Grand Forks are in a growth mode. We talked with them about the state issues that they're concerned about or think about on the state, and they expressed concerns with the state business climate. North Dakota's perceived as being more business friendly. And the items they cited were taxes and workers' comp, Minnesota minimum wage, mandates, the Polk County reassessments that resulted in higher property taxes, and the regulatory framework such as the MPCA. However, when we talked with them about locally, they said the transportation network with only 3 bridges can be difficult. They talked about employee and community loyalty, how important that was and how much they value that. They talked about the weather. Not much we can do about that yet. They said City Hall and the community are responsive. And they say that East Grand Forks is a solid community to do business in. And we are issuing a press release that's going out that will show this information. But overall, we're pleased, but we have some opportunities to do some things with some businesses that we found during here. So, do you have any questions? Barry, do you have anything you want to add first?
I just kind of 3 highlights. First of all, I think from an industrial park or business development space needs perspective, it looks like you're good for the next 3 years, but beyond 3 years, you probably should have that on this board's radar, just taking a look at what's adjacent to some of those companies. Paul has a specific on which of those 9 are planning to expand. Is there really enough room? I think the answer is in the short term there is, but I think you get out 4, 5, 6 years, it's something that this board is going to really want to take a look at.
Barry, if I may, let me remind you that we have included in the capital improvement plan for the city, looking at the expansion park and addressing industrial park and looking to expand or purchase land for industrial park in the 2020 budget. So we're looking at that time frame.
That makes a lot of sense. That actually tracks them really well with what we heard. Workforce continues to be an issue, and I know that'll be one of the chamber's top priorities this upcoming year again. And then finally, you saw one company's going to expand in a different Minnesota community and one in another state. I just wanted to address those 2 that aren't going to expand in East Grand Forks. They're doing that for business reasons. They need to have a presence in that market or that community in order to be able to do business in that particular area. It wasn't anything at all from a local factor point of view that was influencing that.
In fact, they were somewhat apologetic. They weren't doing it here.
And they're going to keep their main headquarters, their main operation here in East Grand Forks, which is good. So I think the other thing is that, there are 7 companies that require some follow-up, and I'm going to give Paul some work to do over the course of the next couple of years as we try to help them grow and expand in East Grand Forks.
Now, this information we'll also make this presentation to the City Council, and this information from East Grand Forks will merge with the information from other communities around the state and part of an overall state report that the Chamber puts together annually.
I think high level wise though, it's just good for us to go visit those primary sector employers, find out what their plans are. I think Paul and I both learned a lot of things in our visits, just in terms of some things that are happening here that we didn't know, and some things that we were able to introduce them and make some connections for them to some people that they didn't know. So I think it'd be really mutually beneficial. It's good.
Where'd they want to see the bridge going on? Another bridge?
South.
South?
South.
South End, yeah.
32nd Avenue,
Just curious.
or Merrifield Road.
And remember, that's on the,
I'd like to see what you're into.
Daniel, I don't know if you've seen this, but when the City Council sat down and went through their goals and their what they'd like to look at doing over the next couple of years, a bridge on the south end is one of the items they identified too. So things are dovetailing in that regard.
Well, and the MPO is going through an update of its long-range plan, and that's going to be a major topic of discussion, that it be included, and there'd be a very strong push from East Grand Forks that not only it be included, but that we start planning for finding funding, financing, and overcoming the political hurdles that are in the way.
I don't know how many of you were at the meeting, public hearing, when I was at that meeting, and that was the main topic of discussion. And Earl also had kind of a history of the bridge discussion, a 48-year history going all the way back to 1969.
Yeah.
Kind of all the bullet points, actually pasted that handout on the Chamber's Facebook page last week after that meeting. And I think the bridge is going to get a lot of discussion this next master planning go-round.
Well, I think it's, the other thing, it's been through the chamber quite a bit, some of the discussions on the bridge, and trying to find grassroots support for something closer in town, because with the different projects that were in place this summer, it became very apparent that there were difficulties in getting around Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, and some of the neighborhoods that didn't want to have the bridges in them in the past may be more conducive to doing it rather than putting it all the way out in Merrifield Road.
There's also been some press stories of the neighborhood that it will help to take pressure off if we do get another bridge. And if anybody wants to know the future of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks without adequate river crossings, all you have to do is look what happened this weekend when the Kennedy Bridge was closed. The transportation system failed. And that's the term that they use when it gets to the point where it was lined up to right out here to the Demers overpass.
It was lined up to McDonald's on Friday night on South Line.
Yep.
You really want to know? Is that Sentinel?
That's our future without another bridge. So if that's what you want, then fine. Stand in the way of another bridge.
Anything else?
Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add on the Grow Minnesota report? If not, we'll be going on to our closed session. So our closed session is Economic Development Authority, City of East Grand Forks, Minnesota will meet in a closed meeting on Tuesday, September 5th, 2017, during the scheduled Economic Development Authority meeting in the training room at City Hall. This meeting is closed pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, subsection 3C 1, 2, and 3, to determine the asking price of real property owned by the City of East Grand Forks, to review non-public appraisal data under Section 13.44, subsection 3 of Minnesota statute, and to develop or consider counteroffers for the purchase of real property parcel numbers 83.04459.00. At this time, do we have a motion to move into closed session?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. We are now in closed session.
We have someone in
Okay.
there still.